Suicide Squad is a beautiful mess. The idea of a band of villains coming together to fight alongside the government is something so unique and rare that it has the makings of becoming the next Avengers franchise. Think about it. Without referring to the movies that we've seen, if done right, each villain you've seen in the comics coming to life and forming a band of misfits has such raw potential. With heroes, you have to keep some sort of stoic energy that keeps the audience rooting for the small guy till the end. There's a certain hero's journey you need to follow, and most importantly, you need to honor the morals of peace and justice. But with a cast of villains, you can focus on destroying that arc that we've been accustomed to. There's no need for lessons in morality, peace, or justice. Instead, you can focus on having a high-energy, fun piece of work that pokes fun at the often overused hero movie that we've seen time and time again. That is what the Suicide Squad had the potential to be and should have been from the beginning. Instead, what we received was a poorly written teen angst film and a poorly written hero movie, but with villains. I'm not here to talk about the relatable MTV comedy released in 2016.
Stay evil, dogface.
I'm here to talk about the newly released version and will be the only one that exists. So sit back, relax, and let's put a smile on that face while we talk about the wonderful disaster that is the Suicide Squad. There's a couple things wrong with this film. The first and most notable issue was the pressure. As mentioned previously, the idea of the Suicide Squad is so brilliant that the team already had a pretty rough time living up to the hype of such a good idea. Clearly, there was not enough time and effort put into fully fledging out the idea to its best potential. Specifically with this edition, there was a massive amount of attention due to James Gunn directing the movie, which leads us to our next flaw: comparisons. Although this may be a flaw, it's also Suicide Squad's biggest strength. The obvious comparison between the two Suicide Squads gives Gunn such a tremendous win over the previous version. However, most people fortunately don't care about the first film and mainly compare the Suicide Squad to James Gunn's baby, the Guardians of the Galaxy. When you take a moment to think, Guardians and Suicide Squad are practically the same concept. A group of misfits form a team of unlikely heroes to save the day. There's even a simple-minded but powerful beast, a witty protagonist, and a girl with a troubled past that's got daddy issues. When comparing the two stories, however, I find that Suicide Squad actually seems more appealing on paper. You either have a cast of random thieves or kooks from around the galaxy coming together accidentally, or a group of highly developed and beloved villains from years' worth of materials coming together to form an unpredictable team forced together by the military. Yeah, clearly I'm a bit biased, but again, I feel like there was so much room for the creators to work with an already developed cast of unique characters with tons of source material, and totally blew it. When you look closely at the movie, you can tell that Gunn used a lot of the same strategy he used with Guardians. The music, visual effects, and comedy are all present and practically feels like you're watching a generic superhero movie, which segues into our next flaw of the film: blandness. If the 2016 Suicide Squad was bad for being poorly written, out of touch, bad plot, terrible acting,
really bad.
Okay, there was just so much wrong with this film. But at the very least, the movie wasn't bland. For what it's worth, it felt like it did its job at being its own thing, and felt like a new idea, just a poorly executed one. In Gunn's Suicide Squad, we get the same idea of the first version, but executed in a way that we've seen thousands of times by this point. To be honest, I even found myself checking out about 30 minutes in, since I could already tell what was going to happen. Team of heroes are sent to stop evil Batman bites off more than he can chew, and Experiment ends up controlling him instead of the other way around. Oh no, America is actually bad, and family is important. There's even this weird subplot with Deadshot, where he learns about the importance of being a father and how to love. Yeah, I'm not joking. This is pretty bad. This is where the movie oddly tries to do something different so it could stand out, but it just feels like a kid copying a friend's homework with a different colored pencil to make it look different and not get caught. The characters, comedy, and subplots are all areas of the film that try to add some more depth to the movie, but are awkward and are not explored fully, that it just makes the movie more awkward. Polka Dot Man is a great example of this. In the comics, he's a lost soul who resorts to alcohol, and his suit eases the trauma. He can also turn his polka dots into items to use as weapons, like a buzzsaw. Man, the 80s were wild. In this rendition, he's played to be traumatized by his mother, and that his superpower is his polka dots explode. That's it. We get an oddly timed explanation as to why he's so traumatized by his mother and possibly the only funny gag in the movie, but then that's it. This movie wants you to care about this character, and for 2 minutes they try to explain the rough past, but then make a joke about it 2 seconds later. The movie does the same exact process for both Rat Girl and Shark Boy. Maybe that was Gunn's intention for the film, to subvert your expectations and deliver a joke when you weren't expecting it, but still, even with a joke with an unexpected punchline, you still have to properly set it up, otherwise it becomes awkward and confusing to the audience, like this movie does. The plot also takes plenty of oddly timed twists and turns that I found it confusing as to why the characters were where they were and how they got there in the first place. The film goes from landing on an island, fighting bad guys, to sneaking into a fortress, to saving Harley Quinn for literally no reason, then back to defeating a bad guy, then saving the island for no reason. Yeah, I couldn't really keep up. Like with the special effects, there's too much noise that it makes it hard to keep up with the pacing of the film. It speeds up when it should slow down, and slows down at really awkward times. And when it slows down, it really slows down. Take, for example, the scene with King Shark and the fish species. The scene is placed right as we're getting ready to pull off a big heist. There's a lot of setup, action, and planning involved, and right as we're building up to the top, King Shark goes into an aquarium, and for 7 minutes we stay in this room and watch King Shark play with some fish. Although it's oddly timed and feels dragged out because there's no payoff at the end, this honestly was one of my most favorite scenes of the movie, since it had the potential of showing so much heart and character for King Shark. Think of it. The entire movie, everyone has treated him as a monster, and that's all he's ever known, his entire life. Now we get the first time he finds someone different, a species that's secluded, isolated from others. A species, dare I say, like him. So he becomes playful, and we see this childlike innocence, really humanizing the character. I truly started to feel for King Shark at this point. But then the building explodes and the fish come out, and they just start randomly attacking him and the others. Again, even if this were Gunn trying to make a joke and subvert our expectations, it's a really awkward way of doing it. Instead, Gunn and the writers could have set it up like the fish were going to help with defeating the giant monster and the American agents, but then turn on the team just when you think they were friendly. Not everything in this movie was bad, though. The special effects and art style were some of the best I've seen in a long time. The movie's design felt fun, and the special effects made the movie fun to watch. A great example of this was Harley Quinn's rampage scene that definitely was probably one of the most expensive sequences of the entire film. The choreography feels on point, and when the comic book special effects start to come in, the movie really shines as its own. If Gunn and his team could put that much attention, planning, and time with the entire movie, it would have been a completely different film. I wish I could go into more detail about some other positive things to say, but that's all I can really say at this point. In the end, I really don't blame Gunn for the failure of this movie. You can tell he and the backstage crew tried to make the most out of it. I think where it went wrong were the heads of production who are out of touch with today's culture. They just want to make something generic and money-making rather than an entertaining piece of art. Sadly, all the biggest studios in Hollywood that are responsible for making over 90% of today's content have this same mentality of keep it the same and safe so we can get money. The entertainment industry is in desperate need of a unique idea, and these studios don't realize that people will go and see it regardless if it's good or bad. Until one studio jumps out and actually makes something unique for a change, we're unfortunately going to be stuck watching these same uninspired films over and over again.